that. It's going to be recorded, but we'll go ahead and begin. Oh, and just as a reminder, if you could make sure to mute your audio during the presentation as well. So just as a heads up about that. So just to introduce myself, my name is Mario Adebayo, and I'm the Assistant Dean of Student Affairs for Muir College. And so in my role, I do a variety of different things, including meet with students related to students' conduct, students' concern. I advise a number of different student organizations. And then I also work primarily with the leadership programs for Muir College. And so that's where we're here today to talk a little bit about the Pathways to Leadership program. And so I'll let Harper introduce herself. She's one of our interns.
Hi, everyone. My name is Harper. I am the Student Affairs intern in charge of leadership programs. So basically in my role, I just oversee leadership programs. I help bring in student input to leadership programs and just help plan them. And yeah, I'm super excited to be here and I'm happy that you're all joining us.
So we have just a few slides to talk about the program. So this will count as essentially your first hour in the program. So if you do ultimately decide to join the program, Pathways to Leadership is intended to provide students with workshops and conferences to provide you with leadership skills or to hone on leadership skills that you already have, to provide opportunities for networking and community building, and information on how to get involved in campus. So essentially we took a really holistic approach in terms of our program and took into consideration the mission of John Muir College and sort of our motto of celebrating the independent spirit. And so the intent is that folks will be able to engage with the leadership programs where you feel most comfortable. So essentially the leadership program is a choose your own adventure, so to speak. So we do outline 10 workshops per quarter, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on. But we do 10 workshops per quarter, as well as one milestone or conference per quarter as well. And so depending on that, you'll be able to participate in either an introductory or advanced program. So we'll talk more about CCR certification later, but the 10-hour program consists of it's like an emergent leader program. So essentially you'll be able to participate in the Inspiring Your Leadership Conference this Friday, and that will count as 4 hours for your 10 hours already. And the remaining 6 hours of the program will be through workshops throughout the rest of the year. So that can include essentially the hour that we have to get together today, as well as like 5 other workshops that you can pick and choose from either the list that we have in the fall or we'll present more in the winter and spring. And then there's also an advanced program. So if you're a seasoned leader or you really enjoy the program and want to kind of just commit to doing a 30-hour program, so you would attend, and that'll be a combination of the conferences / retreats that will take place each quarter, and each of those are about 4 hours. So a little alone there, that takes about half of it, as well as a number of workshops. So you can participate in any of the 10 workshops per quarter, and then that will count for your overall 30 hours time. So it's really easy to get your 30 hours or your 10 hours, depending on whichever you choose. If you just attend some of these workshops, attend some of the conferences and retreats, it's pretty easy to get to that 30-hour mark. And like I said, we have a variety of different topics, and we'll talk about the ones that we have in the fall, but really it is to holistically look at your overall student leadership development, everything from time management and just kind of like organizational skills, personality assessments, even to more deeper conversations about like EDI and social change and how to really create large-scale change both at UC San Diego as well as in the world. So it really just runs the gamut of what the topics that we'd be covering throughout all the workshops and presentations, and as well as the milestone programs or the conferences that will happen quarterly. So that's just an overview of the program. If folks have questions, we have an opportunity to ask those questions at the end of the workshop if you have any Q&A. But essentially that's what the overview looks like. Harper, is there anything that you want to add?
Yeah, sure. So I guess just from a student perspective of like maybe why you would want to join. So when I was a first year, I remember attending Inspiring Your Leaders because Pathways to Leadership is brand new this year, as we said. So there was only certain leadership programs that we had like prior to this year. So yeah, I remember going to Inspiring Real Leaders, and I had my orientation leader interview like the next week after, and I was like super nervous about that. But it was actually really nice going to Inspiring Real Leaders because we talked about like interview skills during that particular one. We will have a different one during the actual year for a workshop for interview skills and stuff and resume building, which I highly recommend going to that one. But I just remembered I was like super nervous about starting a new like leadership position possibly, or getting interviewed for it, and it was really nice to like talk to other students and like go through a process and meet near staff, and it made it like so much less scary about like just applying to something. So yeah, I would definitely highly recommend joining us for conferences and workshops because of that.
And oh, go ahead. Oh, one quick note before we go to the next slide is that essentially, if you choose not to do either program, you can definitely still participate in any of the workshops and conferences anyway. So there's also the drop-in option that we forgot to mention. But essentially, yeah, like if you see a topic and you're like, well, I don't want to commit to either the 10 or the 30-hour program, which I said, like at that point, you may as well sign up for those because it's super easy to get those hours. But like if you end up deciding like, I just really want to learn more about resume tips and interviewing skills. So it's like, you can still just drop into any of these workshops as well if you don't want to fully commit to the program. Essentially, like I said, we wanted to make sure we're meeting you all where you're at. And then last thing too is like, I think oftentimes people, when they think of leadership, they're kind of discouraged because they're like, well, I don't see myself as a leader. And I want to kind of just dispel that myth right now. Like literally all of you have the capacity to be leaders, and you're leaders in your own way, whether that's being members of an organization, taking on a leadership role, being an intern for our office, or just, you know, really honing those skills and being a leader, whether it's in your family or community. You all have the capacity to be leaders, and you're all, you know, just by being here with us today, are leaders in your own way. And so I want to really encourage you all that, you know, kind of really changing the paradigm around like leadership with a capital L to leadership with a lowercase l, where really we exemplify it in everything that we do. So yeah, so don't be discouraged to participate in this as well. We're all leaders, and this is just really to hone those skills in a little bit as you kind of advance in your university career, college life. So yeah, Harper.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, that's really important to talk about. I mean, you can even be a leadership, like be in a leadership role technically even in a classroom, you know, if you're like leading a project or you're taking that stance too. So I think there's a lot of different ways to be a leader. So I'm going to talk about a few other benefits to you. So as I kind of mentioned before, it was really nice getting to meet other students through this. And I think especially in these times, this is a great program to be a part of, to meet other people that have like similar interests as you. Yeah, and then you can gain a greater sense of community at Muir College, or in like whether you're on or off campus. So even if you're home, like I'm home right now, but I stay connected through the Muir community through online ways. It's really great to also meet Muir staff. So, you know, you get to meet Mario today, you get to meet other staff too that will be presenting at our conferences and at our workshops. Yeah, you can get leadership skills. Just like I said, like if you attend like, especially like the resume building one, like I still use those tips today that I learned from that. Yeah, you can also learn about like cultivating inclusive environments for everyone. So we will have at this Friday at our Inspiring Real Leaders, we will have an introduction to EDI, as well as this Wednesday, our presentation that we will be having is very EDI focused. So definitely check those out. And then lastly, you can also be CCR certified, and Mario will talk more about that right now.
All right, so I'm not sure if folks are familiar with the co-curricular record, but essentially the co-curricular record is, hold on, let me admit that one person. The co-curricular record is essentially your non-academic transcript. So, you know, you have your academic transcript as a student, and then if you also want to collect information related to your non-academic involvement, so like, you know, your student leadership position, your programs, that you participate in, just like all the co-curricular stuff that you participate in, we can also essentially you sign up for the co-curricular record, and you're able to add those all onto it. So at the end of your UCSD experience, you essentially have this like transcript to demonstrate all the things you participated in. And so there's 4 different focus areas for what could be on there. One is research and academic life. one is on student and campus engagement, one is on community-based and global learning, and lastly, there's professional and career development. And so your participation in the Pathways to Leadership program, whether at the 10-hour commitment or the 30-hour commitment, will be appearing as well on your Cocurricular record. So you can just sign up to get validated throughout the process. And so once you're done with your 10 hours, you can go and say that you participated in the 10-hour program, or if you commit to the 30 hours, at the end of the 30 hours, you go in there. Myself or Harper will be able to validate you in the process and then just confirm that you completed your 10 or 30 hours, and you get this added onto your Cocurricular record, which in the end you can take to either, like, if you're a grad program or if you're applying for jobs and they're asking for, a portfolio of information, you can include that in that, and then it demonstrates like all the stuff that you did outside of the classroom. So I would really encourage y'all, whether or not you participate in the Pathways to Leadership program, to set up your co-curricular record so that you can track some of the involvement that you have. Because I think even just when you're developing a resume, you're like, oh, what did I do that first year or that second year? And you're like, what was all the stuff I involved in? And that's an easy way to make a reference as well to like back to all the leadership stuff that you've done throughout your career here at UCSD. So yeah, so that's the Cocurricular record. And so kind of talking a little about that, I mentioned, grad schools or, when you're applying for jobs after you graduate. So one of the biggest things that we hear a lot from employers, and some of the statistics comes from the Career Services Center or the Career Center, is just kind of the idea of like, ultimately like skills that employers are looking for or stuff that are outside of, your academic life. So I think that's a huge part, like getting good grades and making sure that you are doing research, I think are huge factors in terms of you being able to get into a good grad program or getting a good, or being really competitive when you're applying for positions. But then also what a lot of employers are saying is like a lot of the like what quote unquote soft skills that people develop are also really important. So like that's verbal communication. And even right now, like electronic and digital communication are really big things as well. Teamwork and working with diverse populations, and how you interact with other individuals. And right now, again, really respecting like diverse populations and how you are culturally competent. That's part of what employers are starting to look for. Problem solving and critical thinking, information processing. And lastly, organization. Like, do you just have organizational skills? Like, are you able to keep yourself organized? Are you able to make sure that you're on top of whatever your commitments are? Like, I filled out a number of letters of rec recently, and a lot of them are asking specific things like, was this person on time for meetings? Was this person, like, when they completed a project, did they complete in a timely manner? And so all these are skills that you don't really think that you're trying to really practice and hone in on, but it's something that you do so in different areas. So like you do that through your involvement, but you also do it through your leadership as well. So like internships, student employment, student government, group projects, those types of things. And so one of the things I would really emphasize again with the Pathways to Leadership program is that this is the focus area for our program. Like you're getting your academic life really defined and developed within your classroom, but everything outside of the classroom, that's where our focus area is. Like, how do we provide you with the skills that you need to be able to be more competitive when you're applying for grad schools later on down the line, or you're applying for jobs later down the line? And that's where a lot of the workshops and a lot of the conferences that we're hosting really kind of focus in on is like, how do we develop, like I said, these soft skills to help make sure that you're competitive when you get out into the real world. So yeah. Harper, is there anything you want to add to that?
I don't think so. Okay. I think you covered it all.
All right, perfect. All right, so this is my last slide before Harper jumps in. And so I apologize if you're hearing me a lot, but basically, as we mentioned, there's 3 milestone components to the program. So even if, again, whether you do the 10 or 30-hour commitment, you can participate in these. If you choose not to participate in either of those programs, you can still participate in any of these sessions. So in the fall, we have the Inspiring Your Leadership Conference, and that's focused primarily on introductory folks who are really trying to get into getting involved and getting in leadership roles at UC San Diego and Muir College. It's just really a introduction to leadership in general. Then the idea is that the next two will sort of build off of your leadership development. And so the second one is an intercultural retreat. And this is open to both new and continuing students. And the focus of that one is on issues related to equity and social justice. And so there'll be opportunities for interactive activities as well as authentic dialogue. And so the intent is that, you get some introductory skills in your first quarter or through the workshops. And then the idea is that you can build off of that. And, these are building blocks upon one another for the overall program. Because the third, the one in the spring quarter, the third retreat is the Mirror Social Change Retreat. And this is geared towards, again, continuing students and graduating seniors. So the idea is that you've gone through this whole process and you're trying to create larger scale social change, whether at UC San Diego or whether it's in your professional or graduate life. So the idea is that, you take these skills, you take all this, and it's like, how do we implement this to have a larger impact in our, our local or even our national community. So really that's the idea. It's like, it's kind of building up one to the next. And so even though they're geared towards a particular population at any point, definitely you're able to participate in any one of them. Even if you're a second or third year and you're like, I just want to kind of learn more about what it means to be involved. Like I've been involved in high school. I didn't really do anything my first year, but I do want to get involved. Like I would encourage you definitely to do the Inspiring Your Leadership one. If you're not a graduating senior and you're like, I want to be able to see what change I can do in my senior year at UC San Diego, then definitely I encourage you to do that social change retreat. Again, really, although we have kind of focus areas for each one, we really want to make sure that you can engage with it where you feel most comfortable. So yeah, we encourage you to attend any or all of these, and they will happen quarterly. As Harper mentioned, our Inspiring Your Leadership one is this Friday. So if you haven't signed up for it, please do so now. We'll potentially drop the link in the chat, or you should have received an email if you signed up for the leadership program. But yeah, I'll drop both links just in case you didn't sign up for either of those things. And then no dates have been determined yet for the intercultural retreat or the social change retreat. The winter retreat doesn't have a specific date or time just yet. And oh, okay, sounds good. So yeah, so that's pretty much it for this. And then Harper will talk a little bit about the workshops that we're hosting this quarter.
Awesome, thank you, Mario. Sorry, my screen's a little slow. Okay, here we are. So basically, this is one of our workshops. And then on Wednesday, we will be having, sorry, I guess it's freaking out. Wednesday, we will be having a leadership presentation also on building community and about being pro-inclusion. I'm really excited for this one. I think it will be a really great one to go to. Then week 4, we have one on inclusive language and addressing bias. Week 5 is what's your leadership style? So also similarly to this Friday, how we're having a kind of personality assessment also this Friday. This is going to be also another way to kind of apply things that you learn about yourself through a personality/leadership quiz and apply those into your life. So highly recommend those two as well. Week 7, we're going to be having resume and interviewing tips. Also these are all very helpful. Week 9, you can meet your Dean of Student Affairs. You'll get to talk to Jason Thibodeau. He's amazing. Shout out to him. And then week 10 will be one on imposter syndrome and self-advocacy. This is also really important, especially if you're new to UCSD. I really recommend this one because there might be times that you feel like you don't belong, but you got into UCSD for a reason. You are here with us for a reason. So definitely check out that one as well. And then Mario, is there anything else you want to include about these workshops? No, we're good. Okay, cool. Awesome. So now we're going to go into Q&A. So feel free to ask us questions that you have.
Yeah, you can either drop them in the chat or you can go ahead and unmute. And while folks are either submitting their questions or thinking of their questions, I'm going to drop in a few different links. So the first link is going to be if you want to sign up or you're interested in signing up for the Pathways to Leadership program. That way you can track your hours. And so I'm going to drop that link first. And then after that, I'll drop in links for an attendance sheet for today's session. So if you can fill out just that you attended today's session. so we can make sure to track your hours as well. And then the third set of links are just going to be the links to register for this Wednesday's workshop, as well as for this Friday's Inspiring Mayor Leadership workshop, if you're interested for those. And then if you can go ahead and sign up if you are interested and register for those as well. So questions from the group. So is it possible to change from the introductory program to the advanced program after registration? I can answer this one. So yes, essentially the way that it works is that you will start to kind of complete your hours, and if you're getting to the 10 and you're like, oh, I want to just complete the 10, then you submit that on CCR. But if you get to the 10 and you're like, I can continue doing this for 20 more hours, it's pretty easy to take care of the 10 and I want to do the 20 more, I want to do 10 each quarter, then you can definitely then don't submit your submission on CCR to get certified, and then wait to get your CCR certification after the 30 hours instead. So we just ask if you do switch from the 10 to 30, don't submit for the 10-hour one, because you can only submit once. So you can either submit for the 10 or the 30. So just make sure that after you get to the 10 hours, you don't submit anything, so you can continue on to the 30-hour program. Does that make sense? Okay. Do you want to answer this one, Harper? So the question is, are the hours accumulated over the course of the specific academic year?
Yeah, so your hours are going to be based on this academic year. So, you can, as Mario mentioned, like if you want to attend the Inspiring Mayor Leaders and then workshops, make up that 10 or 30 throughout the whole year, you can do that. If you want to, attend Inspiring Mayor Leaders and you're like, this quarter is a little crazy for me, let me start next quarter too. Yeah, it's over the whole quarter. So I hope that answers your question.
All right, any other questions? All right, I'm going to drop just one more link in the chat. I got a question, and it was sent to me privately, but it might be good for everyone to know. So when you put the PID number in, it's asking you for actual digits. So put in the numbers from your PID, and then everyone starts with an A. So we'll just add an A at the beginning of it. So just feel free to just put in the numbers for your PID, and then the assumption is that it's an A at the beginning of that. Any other questions? All right, well, then that pretty much concludes our presentation for today. Oh, the last link that I just put in was for this Wednesday. Oh, and let me also provide the one for Friday's conference.
And to add something about the link, this link I think has a checkboxes. I think if this is the right link, so you might be able to like kind of click all the dates that you want to attend certain workshops, and then you could like log into the workshops through that same link.
I have a question in the chat that I'll share with the whole group, and that's if there's a way to attend asynchronously. So at this time, you can still participate in the sessions. It won't count towards your hours because unfortunately, oh, sorry, if you can make sure you mute. Okay, cool. So if you want to participate in the program, the only way we can track it and make sure that folks attend their hours is if you attend it during the time. If for some reason you still want to just kind of drop in and participate and learn, get the information, then also definitely check that out as well. And we're going to share those things on our YouTube, and we'll send out the links as well to that at some point if you are interested in it. But because the way that the hours work is that we need to make sure that you're able to log in during that time. And those are just the hours for this quarter. So hopefully if you're not able to attend any of the things this quarter during that time, the hours will change for next quarter. And then also, yeah, the hours will change, and hopefully your class schedule allows it for next quarter instead. And hopefully there's not a conflict next quarter too.
Hi, I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I registered for the Inspiring Your Leadership Conference, but the time says 5 a.m.
It is definitely an error. I will correct that now. It is 5 p.m.
Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you. That's what I thought.
All right, thank you for that correction. I just fixed it right now. It is now says 5 p.m. I will not be there at 5 a.m. I apologize. Any other questions?
Oh wait, Mario, I just got one in the chat. So it's asking about if you do advanced, if you also need to attend the fall retreat or just the winter and spring retreats.
Just the winter and spring. You don't have to attend the one in the fall. You could if you want to, and it's an easy way to get 4 hours out of the way. But if you want to just, I think the intent of that program is that you do more of the advanced leadership stuff. So definitely do the winter and spring one, and then also do the workshops in addition to that. Eventually we'll get to a place where folks will then help facilitate, and that would count as some of your hours. But until next year, that's the easiest way to get your 30 hours, is to do the winter and spring retreat and then the workshops throughout the year. Any other questions? Feel free to drop them in the chat, or you can also unmute and ask them. All right, so we'll hang out for a little bit. I know some folks. Oh, Harper, do you want to answer that question? When, where can we find schedules with times for upcoming sessions?
Yes. I can find the Facebook link right now if you want, actually, and I can send it to y'all. But yeah, there's 2 places. So you can either go to the Mirror website and you can go under like student involvement and find so many words, Pathways to Leadership, and you can find all the schedule through that, or you can go to our Facebook and look at our upcoming events, where you will also find all of the dates, times, links to register, and all of that. You're welcome.
So the link I just dropped is for the website, and then I think Harper's going to drop the link for the Facebook event. But yeah, so Inspiring Your Leadership is the only one that's outside of the normal times, but all the other workshops will be Wednesdays from 12 to 1, except for holidays. So there's not one before Thanksgiving, and there's not one on Veterans Day, but all the other Wednesdays have a 12 to 1 session. Oh, do you want to stop sharing, Harper? Any other questions? Okay, so yeah, so now now after Harper submits that link, definitely check that out. But otherwise, that concludes our presentation today. I know a few folks came a little bit late, so if you want to stick around and get what the information was that you missed. But otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording now.